Okay, well, thank you everybody for joining us today. We're going to go ahead and get started on the Qvinci webinar that will show you how we can help you automate client reporting, specifically with our new product offering that is Qvinci for Accountants. Quick introduction, my name is Roman Delino. I'm an account executive here at Qvinci Software that covering the Midwest of the United States. So going to be taking you through a bunch of things today, but what I always like to start off with is, how we got here, and what is the paradigm, and what's driving the need for a solution like Qvinci for Accountants. We work actively with folks like Boomer Consulting and many different influencers over at Intuit, and really, as a general rule, have seen a bit of a trend change in the accounting industry. A lot of the clients that we work with currently have been expressing a need or desire to grow and scale, specifically in the client accounting and or general bookkeeping services of their business. A lot of this is being driven by technological changes in the field. It's the adage is gone are the days of being the reactive accountant, and there really seems to be a overarching view that in the next 5 to 10 years, if you are not becoming as an accountant a trusted advisor to your client, a trusted advisor from more than simply just doing financial reporting and accepting and closing invoices, to understanding their business and understanding, more importantly, the drivers of their business and putting information in front of them that's concise and actionable, that you may be at risk if you're not making those changes. And I'd mentioned using technology to enable that. Well, we were approached at this point about 18 months to a year ago by some of our financial institutions and accounting clients, and some of the from large to small. And the request was this: Qvinci as a solution is really, and we're pretty proud of the fact that we own patents around this, but is regarded as one of the sole gap consolidation solutions on the market for products like QuickBooks, QuickBooks Online, Xero, MYOB. And their ask was, there's a lot of power in your system, but what we really need to be able to do is to improve efficiency as it relates to what we have to do on a day-in, day-out basis from a reporting perspective for our clients. Because in order for us to really enable that trusted advisor relationship and have those deeper conversations, we've got to get more efficient in places that aren't really making our firms money. And an example of which would be simply exporting and creating reporting packages for clients on a monthly basis. There's a lot of pain associated there, at least from the conversations that we've had and the information that we've seen. And so enter Qvinci for Accountants. And what's important to understand about Qvinci for Accountants and what Qvinci for Accountants is it's a combination of several different values from a technological perspective with a single end goal. And the single end goal is to put forth a solution that allows you and your team to collaborate actively over your entire client base. And what I mean by that, we have a Qvinci portal. The Qvinci portal is a layer within Qvinci that will allow you to see all of your clients in a landscape view, with the idea of adding efficiency to your day in, day out activity. Instead of having to email back and forth status updates on particular clients or client files, you simply input it into the portal and it will be there for everybody who has permission to see. This is something that overcomes differences in file types. A lot of people are like, well, this kind of looks like QuickBooks Online for Accountants. Well, the beauty behind what we do is instead of limiting you to the top 2 SKUs of QuickBooks Online for your clients, because not every client can use QuickBooks Online, or not every client has made that conversion yet, we allow you to build in QuickBooks Desktop clients as well, Xero clients, and even classes. If it's something you ever wanted to see a class breakdown, put that information in front of you and your team on a need-to-know basis so that you can really clean up the communication intra-team, but also see your financial information as it relates to your clients in a very clear and concise manner. So, how does this information get into Qvinci? It starts with our sync solution. We have syncing technology for several different and really the most popular accounting solutions in the United States and Canada, and really all along the Pacific Rim. So we currently actively connect to QuickBooks Online, QuickBooks Desktop, and we actually go all the way back to 2009 on QuickBooks Desktop, and we'll work with both both Canada and U.S. And we also work with Xero, MYOB, and for those who are maybe not on one of those solutions, we have an Excel sync option as well. And the idea behind this is to bring that information in on a regular automated basis, so that instead of having to, if I want to access a client's reporting information, even if they're a non-consolidation client, I'm not going to have to go log into an RDS server and then input my QuickBooks Online credentials, and if I forgot my credentials, go find them, and so on and so forth. With our solution, our aim is to allow you to log in once, and that's to Qvinci. And then you see the entire the entire view of your business in one place and can actively navigate from one place. So as far as automating reporting, the first step in the journey that is automating reporting is report authoring. Qvinci, similar to what you get out of your various QuickBooks systems, allows you to author reports. But we define authoring reports as something different than is defined really anywhere else, at least in the small medium business sector. And within QuickBooks Online, for example, you can create a customized report or group for a client, and you can save it. And then moving forward, if you ever need to extract that report, you simply open up that client in QuickBooks Online, navigate to where the report's saved, and then open the report. You may have to export and make some changes to that report, but it's there to a degree, but it's also very, very limited. With Qvinci, when we say author a report, what we mean is truly customize a report and make it brand specific to your firm. Make it very targeted to your specific client, i.e. if there's a tabular KPI, I work with a lot of restaurants, and prime cost is a huge one in the restaurant business, and it's not something you can build into QuickBooks to calculate. Within Qvinci, you can build it to where it's a forward-looking report that's going to be dynamically updating, that makes for a very simple prime cost report. And instead of having to rebuild it every time by exporting it to Excel and then making your changes and then formatting and then building into a package, you simply have it residing in Qvinci as a memorized report, and you can publish it across multiple clients. And I'll get a little bit more on that here in a minute. But the other big pieces are things like the SARS-21 disclaimer. Especially with new regulation that's becoming much more imperative. And as I'm sure most of those on the call are aware, if you use QuickBooks Online, there's some limitations as to being able to put the entire legal disclaimer in their field. It's just not big enough. In our system, we give you headers and footers and plenty of room for any type of legal coverage or compilation notes that you need to add to any specific report. Now, past that, and most of the clients that I work with, whenever they're providing monthly reporting or weekly reporting in some cases, or quarterly, or what have you, it's very seldom a report. It's very seldom, hey, I just send this one report to my client because that's what matters to them and that's what they want to see. More often than not, it consists of a series of reports. Well, Qvinci has added the ability to package and publish reports. So, what does that mean? I just covered report authoring on a brief scale, and I'm going to show it to you here in a few minutes. But packaging and publishing essentially says, you can combine multiple dynamically updating reports along with dynamic documents. And when I say dynamic, they can reference clients, they can reference date ranges, so on and so forth, so that instead of having to go to all of those individual reports from every client's perspective, and more often than not, we usually see 15 to 20 minutes per client, depending on what level of customization that's involved, and that's oftentimes a monthly affair. Instead of spending that time, be logged into Qvinci, click on the client, click the package, hit download, you're off to the races. There's no more additional work needed. It will download in the format that you've created it in with the client's data that you had open. So it makes for a really unique use case, because instead of having to go run down things like memorized reports, for instance, we had, due to our new client engagement information, we've decided that our new standard comparative P&L is going to have something on it. Well, if you've used what's kind of been the status quo technology, then you're going to have to go into every single client and modify whatever memorized report or group that you've got set for that client in order to match whatever that new standard is. And sometimes some people might be missed or mistakes happen. Well, with Qvinci, if you've got a core set of reports that's for a group or all of your clients, you just simply have one package that represents that core. And you go in and you change that one package one time to match what your new needs are. You save it, and then anytime somebody goes and reruns that package, it's completely updated with whatever it is that your new standard consists of. So what do we do exactly, and how does it benefit you? We sync data automatically from accounting software, and at least what is considered the majority of the small medium business accounting software in the United States, something to the tune of 89% of the market. We coordinate your staff across all clients using the portal. The portal puts everybody on the same page, for lack of a better way of putting it. It allows you to see what you need to see, and if I'm a CPA and I've got a bookkeeper working underneath me and that bookkeeper has cleared an activity with a specific client, then they update them to the next activity. When I log in, I see on a workflow basis what the next necessary step is without having to have any further communication outside of Qvinci. Create reporting templates, including consolidation and KPI reports. Prime cost is one that I would consider a KPI. Now, it's not a visual KPI, it's a tabular KPI. But every client has something that really that they need to focus on. And if I'm looking to achieve that trusted advisor role with a client, I'm going to make effort to learn their business, to understand their business, understand where they need action in order to improve their business, and come up with some concise format that I can really focus them on where their problems and opportunities are, so that I'm adding value to that client every time I send them a report. Style and reports, style reports and documents per your standard. I work with, at this point, somewhere in the nature of 40 or 50 accounting firms in the U.S., ranging from a couple in the top 10 in the U.S. All the way to some smaller individual proprietor practices that have 10 or 15 clients. And I can't stress enough that what you put in front of your clients represents your brand, and particularly in the accounting realm, your brand is what's going to keep them with you. And if you can do things like have your logo parked on reports, if you can do things like have reports that make sense to that client and that have a format that's a professional presentation, it really can improve the overall response you receive from your client, and also, frankly, the attention that they give it. And the last one, and arguably the most important as per our subject matter today, is assemble, share, and publish auto-updating packages for all clients. You may have a firm standard that my standard is I provide a financial statement package every month that consists of a cover letter, it consists of a table of contents, a couple of comparative P&Ls, a balance sheet, and then statements of cash flow, AR, AP aging, and then maybe a report that's specific to a client, but not always. And what I would suggest is this: if that's a fairly general package for you, create the memorized reports that consist of that package, add the documents that consist of the front end of that package, use some of the dynamic tools that we give you within Qvinci to say, you know what, regardless of what client you have open, we need to go grab that client's name and we need to go grab that date. Put them all together in a package, publish them to everybody. And there you go, problem solved. Now, past that, there are clients that have very specific needs or very unique needs or even contractual obligations. There's nothing that says that you can't create a package for an individual client that's going to be what I call forward-looking or dynamically updating package that you can use on a one-off basis. Sure, you may not be able to get use out of it for your entire clientele, but a lot of times if you're manually building that report on a monthly basis, I would ask you to think about how long it takes you to do it, and if those are utilization hours or if they're not. Because in beta testing with many of our clients on our new solution, we saw something to the tune of 7 to 10% general uptick in utilization. Frankly, what's considered one of the more annoying activities for your bookkeepers and your accountants, absolutely no need moving forward to sit there and change some margins or update the dates on a report or add the footer in Excel because you can't do it in QuickBooks. It's all going to be done for you. So I'm going to bounce over and show you what Qvinci for Accountants looks like. This is going to be fairly high level. And if you want to deep dive into this, I would ask at the end of this, we're going to put up our contact information. Don't hesitate to reach out to us directly. And myself or my team, whomever takes care of your particular territory, will be glad to get together and really on a one-on-one basis cover how you can use this thing to benefit you and your practice and your clients. So this is the Qvinci for Accountants portal. The Qvinci for Accountants portal does a couple of different things. Of course, we're bringing data in on an automatic basis. And what we're going to give you is a column that equals your client. Now, keep in mind, Qvinci's award-winning and frankly very highly regarded and successful consolidation suite is still built into this system. So it's not the Qvinci original core competency has not gone away. So in this case, we've got 3 clients, or as if I were an accounting firm, what I would consider 3 clients: a coffee shop company that has multiple locations, an automotive, and a diocese. Okay. In this case, we give you a landscape view of all of your clients and their entities specifically. So while yes, the coffee shop may consider themselves an individual operator, they have 2 different QuickBooks files that consist of the whole of their business. And so from here, we will let you know when you've closed the books. This is not something that we extract from QuickBooks. This is something that you tell us what effective date you want to reflect here. And the thought process behind that is if you've got a client that operates, maybe does some of their own bookkeeping, and they go into QuickBooks and hit close books, there's a better than good chance their definition of when the books are completed, closed, are different than what yours would be. And so we want to leave this as a tool for you. So you define whenever you or your team has closed the books completely. And then after that, we get into a bunch of what I would consider fairly unique value adds to this particular system, starting with the ability to create workflows. I made mention of this earlier. This is part of the collaboration aspect of what we aim to deliver. It's being able to come in and set up something that is meaningful to your team as it relates to a client on a customizable basis. So in this case, we've got an activity list. Okay. At this point, the last user received the transactions for John's Automotive, and once that was done, they selected clean up books, because that's the next step that needs to occur for this particular entity. Well, if I had a bookkeeper that was working underneath me that worked with John's Automotives, they would see clean up books as the next step that needs to happen. And so it can be very well utilized as an activity tracker or a workflow system. We've also seen some other uses for it, where if you're very, for instance, verticalized in a specific industry. I know Boomer Consulting is recommending, if you're moving this direction, that you start taking a look at specialization or niche accounting. Well, if you're looking at doing that, and say you work with 3 different industries, these, instead of being workflows, could very well be industry types. And you select an industry type, and if you ever need to come up here and filter by an industry type, if you've got 150, 200, 300, so on clients, it makes that a much easier task. But past that, in the example that I gave earlier with the bookkeeper, let's say that I had somebody, their sole job was to clean up books, was basically go through, close out transactions, and make sure that everything is squared away before we perform a review. Well, if that person's job is the third piece of the workflow, they can come in here and filter equal to what piece of the workflow they sit at, hit filter, and it's going to drop down to whatever group needs action from them. And when your entity list gets to that 25, 30, 40, 50 mark, that grows in value exponentially, because it can really expedite what your necessary activities are. Now, as we go across, you'll see financial data. This financial data is pulled live from the accounting source. And our aim here is to give you an idea of, on a very quick review basis, where your clients stand. How are we on AR? How are we on AP? What's the cash stance of the business? And most importantly, where are our financial ratios at? This is something that I've seen a lot of even very successful business operators not really understand how to use. And where, the understanding that someone in the accounting profession can deliver and value that you can deliver is helping them manage their business to things like current and quick ratio and debt to equity, so that they understand the potential long-term impact of their, on their balance sheet of their actions. And then last but not least is the ability to come in here and understand period over period is last month versus same month last year with percentage of change. Fiscal year to date versus last fiscal year to date with percentage of change. And in this case, an example I like to use is we got a 47% downturn, period over period for last month. Why? And this is, asking that why question, and in my opinion, is the best way to start that deeper conversation that can lead to more opportunity for your firm. Because if I'm wondering why, I can simply click into this data. It takes me straight to the report and the client and the entity that data was being rendered from. So obviously this is a demo, so it's fairly light data in this case, but if this was a full P&L, we'd very quickly see where the change occurred. I mean, is it something that they decided to no longer pursue a line of business, or was there something else that could potentially be impacting their income, and something we can make a phone call on? Or if not necessarily a phone call, we can double check on our end to make sure that we've processed the transactions that we need to. So once again, put the information in front of you and your clients in a really clear and concise format. Now, with Qvinci, we always have the dashboard. The dashboard is something, it's fairly similar to what you would see out of QuickBooks Online. But the beauty behind this is this something you can put in front of your clients as a value add at no additional cost to you. If you wanted to make this easy access for your client, particularly if they're a QuickBooks Desktop solution, add them as a user, control what they can see, and when they log in, they're going to get an experience very similar to this. And what's really interesting about the way Qvinci's consolidation technology works is, while yes, this is pretty similar to what you get out of QuickBooks, I'm actually showing you a combination of two completely different QuickBooks files that we're syncing actively that you can choose to filter into if you want and run on a singular basis as well. Now, automating client reporting, and the real core of what we're trying to show you today. The reporting options that we give you currently are profit and loss, balance sheet, statement of cash flow, so on and so forth. Okay, all the way down to some key financial ratios that we generate external to the accounting solution to a full trial balance. Now, where the big challenges that we've seen occur within automating reporting to clientele is if there's customization in the reporting as it relates to percentages, i.e., I can turn on percentages of income right now and get it on every single account with a column next to it on a percentage of income basis. A lot of my food clients want to see vodka as a percentage of bar sales. They don't want to see vodka as a percentage of total income. And so, in order to generate something like that, there has to be a level of customization that you can add to the system, okay? And so, whenever we create a report, I can't stress this enough, you're not creating a report. You're actually creating a template. And that template gives you the ability to track change and then publish said change to clients with differing charts of accounts and different financial data. Because what I just ran through there is I set a period and I set a frequency. My frequency in this case is year over year. So year over year is, we're going to put one period over the next period. We've defined our period as year to date. We've decided that we want to report on all entities. Those are things that are going to exist with every single client. So it doesn't matter who we turn this around to. We're going to be able to generate a period, we're going to be able to generate a period, a frequency, and an account as far as locations are concerned. Now, what also resides on every single client and every single P&L are things like your period names up here. So date range, for instance. If I come in here and bold and underline my actual periods, then it doesn't matter if I publish this to a different client. Whenever I do that, this is going to be bolded and underlined. If I want to come in here and change ordinary expense to bold, underline, and purple or green or whatever, this is a line that's going to exist on every single P&L. And so the changes that I make to this report are publishable as long as they're not account-specific changes, because if the account does not exist in the other client, we can't publish to that account in that client. But as long as it's something that will exist on every single P&L, then I'll be able to open up a different client instead of Coffee Shops Unlimited and refresh this report. Some other capabilities that come into play here are things like variance. I'm showing you variance here because it's a basic calculation. But much like you would do in Excel, I can create a variance ratio, or I can turn it into a percentage if I see fit, which in this case makes much more sense. And while this is a very simple version, if you're wanting to generate for something like a margin percentage or a specific cost KPI or something like that, the beauty behind this is when we set these things up, what we're doing is we're tagging a specific account and telling it we need to calculate something against something else. And so even as we move forward, moving forward meaning next month, December is going to insert itself into this report. And since we're dynamically pulling data in, your reporting data is going to reflect up to, today in reporting information. Your calculations will still be there. They will be up to date and they will be accurate. And you can also do things like, and this is a light example, something like this, where you come in here and you tell us, okay, I understand that what I'm building is something that applies to this client, but I want to apply it to other clients as well. And you do something like that. And when you do this, what's going to happen is you save this report, okay? And let's just say you come up here and decide that you want to change the client that you have open. You can come into libraries, you can open that report as a memorized report. If it's been published to you, open the report, run the report, and it's going to insert the diocese client's data with the changes that you've made to that report. And the end goal here is to cut down on that day-to-day, week-to-week, month-to-month activity between your clients. The oftentimes non-revenue generating work that also takes potential time away from client to client that you could dedicate building that relationship and adding the additional value, a la becoming that trusted advisor. Now, that's an example of a report. Now, this is the report library. The report library will show you reports that are specific to you that you've created. It'll also show you reports that have been shared to you. I'm the admin on this account, so I've shared all the reports. But with the idea of allowing you to keep both a personalized and a very standardized and general report set to use. Now, when we come over here into the document library, to show you what a document library looks like, some examples would be things like a cover letter or a chart of a table of contents. And in the case of a cover letter, and this is a fairly basic one. Let's do this one. This is a fairly basic example, but we've got Real Accounting Solutions here, which is really a logo. Now, imagine with me, if you will, if this inserted had that mod client name, mod today's date, or percentage, depending on how you want to think about it. If you insert that here, whenever you open this document with a specific client open, it's going to do what we call a hydrate, where it's going to pull that client name, it's going to pull today's date, and we'll insert it dynamically into this document. Now, the end goal and the value to you is that you can take that information and build packages, and your packages are unlimited. And we don't really set a lot of rules around the packages other than it consists of a combination of reports and documents. And so if I needed to create a new package for a client that we just onboarded, and they've got a certain specific needs, but we know that we always need a cover letter, we always need something else. Let's pretend that says table of contents. And then we need a year-to-date versus previous year-to-date report. We've got an investor report that's really custom for them, and something else. Okay, I can save this, and then moving forward, this will always be available for diocese client. Now, if I choose to publish it, it will become available for all of my clients. And the end result is something like this. Instead of having to, if you just do simple financial reporting for clients, or would like to offer more financial reporting to clients, but you frankly just don't have the time and it's not cost effective for you, create a memorized report. And that memorized report in this case would be, an example here is a cover letter, a formatted P&L, and a formatted balance sheet. I click download for this client. There goes my report. And here we go. Cover letter, date range, Customize profit and loss monthly. That when I say customize, we've added a difference in a variance column, turned all of these into financials, bolded these lines, turned this one that beige color, and defined these as a specific color to bring our clients' attention to them, and a balance sheet as well. So moving back to our presentation and to really drive home some of those points, the value provided behind Qvinci is you can create cover pages, documents, report templates. You can style all your reports. You can publish auto-updating PDFs. You can deploy staff to higher value billable services and targets. Have folks focused on growing the practice versus just keeping up with the workload that they're already perhaps underneath, particularly if you're in a value-based model or some sort of subscription-priced model. Because the key to driving success in that model is scalability and efficiency. There's no other way to do it. So, as such, you're going to save hours spent creating and publishing reports for clients and eliminate redundant tasks. The optimization that Qvinci offers is automated collection of client financial data, so you're no longer having to bounce backup copies or accountant copies back and forth. You simply have the data in Qvinci and know that that's going to be your source of truth as it relates to your client's financial status and reporting. The ability to drill down on a per client basis, regardless of what type of accounting solution that they carry, or in some cases, as it relates to QBOA, even what type of licensing they're carrying for QuickBooks Online. So, what does this process look like? How do you get from A to B? The first step in getting you set up, because the age-old question is how much time is this going to take me and how much work is going to be involved. So to give you an idea, we add your staff to the portal. I've had clients that have over 50 different accounting staffs, or even in the franchise world, substantially more than that in terms of staff members. That we've gotten up and running on the actual system itself in about half an hour. We've got a multi-download system that's very effective and efficient. You add your client names to the account. And this, once again, can be handled on a large scale, or it can be handled one by one, whatever your preference is. In terms of adding them to the system, it's handled via an upload process, or even through our user interface, you can go in and create them one by one. If we are assisting you with this process, it's kind of a one-to-N. It doesn't really matter how many it is. It takes 15, 20 minutes tops. Then we link and sync your client files. Anybody that's ever linked a QuickBooks Online file has probably been through this process, but essentially once we've got the locations added and you let us know they're QuickBooks Online, you simply click a button in Qvinci, we port you over to QuickBooks Online, you input the QuickBooks Online administrator credentials, you hit authorize, and you're done. We've done 100 clients in an hour before. As far as QuickBooks Desktop is concerned, QuickBooks Desktop is going to involve deploying a sync app to the location that QuickBooks resides, so that you simply install it. Takes a couple minutes to install. Then you open the QuickBooks file, open the sync app, they shake hands, and you authorize it, and then you're done. So once again, very fast and minimal time investment on the front end. The next is where the magic happens, if you will, and that's creating report templates that will fit either specific clients or your clientele as a whole, and using this information and the ability to style reports to really make sure that your reporting is professional, it's automatic, it's branded appropriately, and it presents yourself and your firm the way that you would like to, with minimal time and cost involved. And then lastly, it's publishing those reports. It's getting together a package, putting them in front of your clients, and reaping the value as quickly as possible. So the major feature comparison breaks down from our SKU types two ways. We've got Enterprise, Qvinci Enterprise, and Qvinci Advisor. Advisor is really specific to those clients that don't need consolidation of any sort. You simply want to automate reporting for this client. You want to give them some of the other high-value add features like alerting and some of the analytics that Qvinci has built in, and the ability to access the portal and template and style reports. Qvinci Advisor is $9.95 per entity per month, meaning if they don't need consolidation, they're one entity. Think of it as $9 a client. Now, when we get into clients that require consolidation, and sometimes as a function of that benchmarking and some other pieces of our technology, we move you to Enterprise. Qvinci Enterprise is the entire suite of Qvinci software, including API access for those of you who would have interest in a deeper integration. And Qvinci Enterprise prices out at $19.95 per month per entity. So if I've got a client that operates 4, and we'll just say dental offices, and each dental office has its own accounting file because they're actually different legal entities because they're in different states. This is an example. I have a client that's actually in this situation. And we need to perform consolidated reporting to that client through dynamic mapping to a standard chart of accounts. And we also need to, would like to be able to give them ranking reports and benchmarking and things like that. Then that client would have 4 licenses because they've got 4 entities of QuickBooks Enterprise. So total cost would be around $80 a month for that client. And the argument that I would make there is, even at $80 a month, if you're doing a manual consolidation, the ROI should be pretty profound. So that is the end of the discussion. I want to leave some time open for Q&A. I know we have several people on, and would like to make sure that you guys have had the opportunity to ask your questions. If you if you would like to verbalize your question, don't hesitate to raise your hand, and we can unmute you. I know not everybody's comfortable with that. So you can also feel free to use your chat window, and I may feed the questions to the group if I feel like it's appropriate. All right. Well, we've got a question coming in via chat, and the question was, as far as the sync is concerned, how much data are we syncing, and how does it come into our system? Well, and we touched on this a little bit earlier. With QuickBooks Online, we actually have a dedicated secure API written to the QuickBooks Online database. We actually are hosted in the same cloud QuickBooks Online is, as well as Xero. So that data is going to come across every single day at midnight. With QuickBooks Desktop, there's a desktop sync application that involves a heavy bit of encryption for data transfer that is deployed to the system. The information will then come to us every time the QuickBooks file is opened. So there's no manual work involved in getting the data across. It simply transmits every time you access the file on a once daily basis. Now, in terms of the length of time of the reporting that we deliver, when we sync data, we bring in current year and previous 2 years if they exist every time. And the beauty behind that is if somebody goes back and makes a historical change, instead of performing an incremental future-looking sync, what we do is we pull all of the data every time, so that at any given point you should know that your system matches what QuickBooks reflects, or what Xero reflects, or whatever your accounting solution of choice is out of our automated integrations. I had a question. Can some clients be on Qvinci for Qvinci Advisor and some on Enterprise? Absolutely. In fact, we expect that most of your clients should be on Advisor. At least that's been our experience. It's not always the case. But as a general rule, what we've seen is that, as something like 80% of the what I call client accounting services clients are small businesses that are individual entity. Now, for those that work with both ends of the spectrum, you've got some consolidation clients and some non-consolidation clients. You can absolutely mix and match to your heart's desire and to match your needs. There's a question about how much support do we provide for initial setup. So there's a couple of different methodologies. We allow self-setup, which if it's something that you want to handle on your own, we do have a knowledge base that will take you through step by step through the process, as well as Qvinci YouTube videos that take you through the iteration of the process as well. My suggestion, we do offer implementation services, and the implementation services is based on a per office. And to give you a rundown of what that looks like, and this applies if we're looking at something that's probably 20 clients or more is what I would suggest. Give us a call. It's $800, but we will take you soup to nuts through the implementation process. We'll essentially from account setup to even assisting you with mapping, depending on what the scope of the mapping is, to adding the locations, to walking you through linking and syncing every single one of your files, even including 2 training webinars that's specific for your firm. So, and then alternatively, in terms of general support, we're pretty proud of the fact that we're based here out of Austin, Texas, and our entire team is. Our support group is actually here to answer any troubleshooting and break-fix questions and to help resolve issues. They're here from 7:30 Central to 6:30 Central, Monday through Friday. Got a question. Are the KPIs included in the advisor platform? And I want to qualify that real quick. When I say KPI, what I'm talking about is a KPI derived from a report itself, a tabular KPI. The answer is absolutely. The customization and styling is uniform from advisor to enterprise. So now, bear in mind the dashboard that we showed earlier. Those dashboard widgets are available on both versions of the license as well, but they are fixed at this point. So you really can't customize them further than what's available, other than moving them around and resizing them. We do plan on adding a layer of customization to that in the near future. So in fact, it's on our roadmap at this point. Question around benchmarking. Is the benchmarking provided coming from your client data exclusively, or is there an industry option as well? The way that Qvinci is benchmarking, whenever we've got a client in consolidation, and it's key to understand that, in order for us to provide you benchmarking, we have to be consolidating. We have to be consolidating multiple entities. So an example and a paradigm that I'm working with one of my clients on, they're very, very heavy in the medical space. In fact, they've got a target industry in the medical space that they cover. They work with, between 60 and 80 clients in this particular space. Well, the answer is we're going to put all of their clients underneath one consolidation company in Qvinci. Use standard chart of accounts mapping to normalize all of their charts of accounts so that they get on-demand benchmarking for their environment. Now, if you've got a source for, because we do not actually source industry benchmarking, we've taken it as a point of consideration for the future, but it's not. It's not where we want it to be yet. But let's just say you use a different source for industry benchmarking. I'll throw a name out there, ProfitSense, as an example. There's a way you can get ProfitSense's information into Qvinci, and we can allow you to stack your locations up next to it so you can really get the best of both worlds. All right. Well, I guess that's going to be all of the questions. I would encourage everyone on the presentation, please reach out at the information below. And if I'm not your person, which I cover the Midwest, we've also got Simon and Caitlin, are the other senior account executives here at Qvinci, and we're doing everything we can to make sure every client that has an interest in this is really getting the red carpet treatment, and it has all the questions answered that you need answered for you to come up with a decision. So feel free to reach out to us. Thank you all again for your time, and look forward to talking to you guys soon.